Good morning, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the month of April. Can you believe it already? It's April.
I can't. I really can't believe it.
I know, me either. But here we are for another edition of Stop Diabetes Insight.
Yes.
We have two fabulous guests with us today. One is sitting here to my left, Susie King. We'll hear more from her in a little bit. But right now, Alyssa and I want to bring you up to date on some things happening at ADA. But first, we have a little commercial. You know, this guy we never give him his due when we're on this show, right? And we should. We try, but unfortunately, we don't do it. So here we go. Jim Wofford, Hamilton County Television, Noblesville Trophies, Logan Street Banners and Signs. Mm-hmm. This guy is pretty awesome. He's our producer.
He is.
He donates his time and technology to allow us to bring this important diabetes information out to the public, and we can't thank him enough for that. And then, you know, we also have to think about, he's the mastermind behind the outdoor movies in Noblesville.
He is, yes. I'm really excited about it. I'm so excited.
He has a great lineup of movies coming this summer. He even provides the bug spray. I mean, really, seriously, what more can you ask for, right? And, you know, but these movies, while they're free to the public, they do cost because there's a license that has to be purchased. He has equipment. He has staff that comes up and sets up the huge screen and all the speakers and all of that. So he has a GoFundMe account. And so I would encourage everyone to go to the GoFundMe account and, you know, help spread this love a little bit. Let's keep these outdoor movies going because it's super fabulous fun time in summer.
And his GoFundMe accounts are on what now? On Hamilton County TV, and then you can also find it on Facebook. Is that correct?
You would go to WoffordTheater.com.
WoffordTheater.com.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
The link is there.
All right.
I should put it on Hamilton County TV, but I haven't.
Well, just want to make sure. So thank you so much, Jim, for all of your hard work.
Yes, we really do owe Jim a huge round of applause. We've been doing this show now almost 3 years, and he's always there for us. So thank you, Jim Wofford. Well, now let's go on and talk about some of the dates that we have coming up at ADA.
Yes, absolutely, guys. So, you know, for 2017, we are off to such an amazing start with all of our fabulous activities we've been going on. Our Alert Day went so well.
Right. We did screenings all across the city. And yes, and I know, you know, we had two great stories that came out of that. There were probably more, but the two that I know about, we caught one gentleman that had a 9.9 A1C.
Oh, wow.
And he was so happy to know that because he had no clue. Oh. And then we had another gentleman who, after he was screened, he came back into where the registration table was with tears in his eyes and said, "Thank you so much for doing this."
Such a difference.
Yeah. So, you know we made some impact out there. And for all those untold stories, we know that people were impacted through Diabetes Alert Day.
Absolutely. And guys, don't forget to always check out our Facebook page, all of our social media for the latest activities that we have going on. That way you can, you know, be in the know and be able to get the help that you need. So let's talk about a little bit about the activities that we have coming up, the different programs. May 3rd, we have Get Fit, Don't Sit Day. So ADA standards show that you need to get up every 30 minutes.
Right.
So if you're sitting behind the computer, if you're sitting down watching TV, hit that 30 minutes. Get up and walk. Do a little jig. Just move. Just get your body moving. Get the blood pumping. You know, that's all we're asking for, right?
Stand up while you're talking on the phone.
I do that every once in a while too. At the copier, I'm dancing a little bit as I'm making my copies.
And that's true. I see her.
You know, so we're just asking again every 30 minutes to do that and just get that blood pumping. So again, watch out for information on May 3rd on our social media pages about maybe some different ways to get up and do that. And then I'm so excited for this. June 4th through the 10th, we have our Camp John Warville.
And that's near and dear to my heart.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I remember.
Yes, Susie's been to our camp before. That's right. I coordinate our camp, and we do still have openings for children. We have financial assistance.
Yes, we do.
The registration website is there on your screen, diabetes.org/Camp John Warville. You can also, our contact information will be on this show throughout, and you can just contact our office for more information too. But it's for children ages 7 to 16. And then we have some senior/CIT campers who are ages 16 and 17 as well.
Wow. So coming up, it's still to be determined a little bit, but the Step Out Walk to Stop Diabetes will be taking place hopefully at White River State Park, a fantastic event that we hope that you'll be able to make. Fabulous walkers that we're really celebrating. We always need volunteers for that, so look out for information on our social media sites about volunteering for this event. We're still looking, the date again is still to be determined, but look out for our social media pages for an update on that date. And then on Saturday, October 7th, we have the Tour de Cure that takes place at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I love this event so much. I really do. I just need to buy a bike is what I need to do. But it gives you a chance to be able to go out on the speedway and cycle and just be a part of a fantastic event with people who are all sharing the same goal to prevent diabetes and find a cure and to just celebrate those who do have diabetes and just really let them know that we are here for them and just, you're the reason that why we're riding that day. So again, October 7th for that date. And again, if you want to volunteer, look out for our social media sites. We will have a lot of information on being able to volunteer for those events as well. So we have a lot of things going on, but again, check the social media. We always have things going on. And if you want to be a part of it, just let us know and we'll be happy to have you.
And then I'd like to just bring to the screen here the latest edition of our Diabetes Forecast magazine. Some of our hot topics in this issue include some smart tips from other readers. They share their daily life hacks that helps make their life easier. A big article about the artificial pancreas and all the technology that's going into that. Managing diabetes with cancer or Alzheimer's disease. A lot of people don't realize that there's a true connection between these diseases. Some delicious summer foods. I mean, just look at this cover. It just makes you want to eat it, doesn't it? I mean, it's gorgeous.
Like,
these tomatoes, and some more on the back.
Always yummy food.
This is an egg dish and some tomatoes, or no, red peppers. Oh my goodness gracious!
You're making me hungry.
I know. And then, for those that are looking into retirement, there's an article here. Believe it or not, there's some tricks and tips that you need for managing diabetes as you make that transition from your daily 9-to-5 job into retirement. So there's an article on that. And then marriage, diabetes style. I mean, we're telling you,
Sign me up.
diabetes affects the entire family. And then, of course, there's lots of more good information in this magazine. And, long before I knew that there was even an ADA office in Indiana, I subscribed to this magazine because it was such a help to me in learning how to manage my diabetes. And that you can't get a magazine at a better rate, price. You can pick it up at your local bookstore to get started, or the drugstores carry them. This is my commercial for Diabetes Forecast magazine. You need to get your copy today and subscribe because trust me, it will help you.
Absolutely.
All right, so now let's move into our guests. We're so excited, and we've got a jam-packed show for you.
We do.
So some of you may recognize Susie King. She's been with us before on this show, and she talked about prediabetes and what you can do for prediabetes, but there's been so much happening in the States. Susie has just done so much, and so we thought it's time to bring her back on to update us on everything that's going on. So, Susie, with that, we're going to turn this over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Carol.
Yes, can you just introduce yourself a little bit to everyone again and tell us what you do?
Sure. I am Susie King, and I work for the Indiana State Department of Health. I am the Diabetes Prevention Coordinator for the whole state of Indiana. So busy all the time. We have new things happening, and that's why I'm here today to let you know.
Yeah, I think they need to get you a little helicopter so that you can travel around the state.
Love that idea. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, so I'm so interested in your position. So what does a diabetes prevention coordinator do?
Well, prediabetes awareness out there throughout the state. I am happy to mention that the state is actually launching a statewide prediabetes awareness campaign. This campaign is going to include a little bit of radio, some billboards, some bus transit signage, as well as some social media in this day and age. So I'm really excited about that. Another big part of my position is increasing the Indiana Diabetes Prevention Network, trying to get more organizations to come on board with diabetes prevention programs. And then, of course, to that, I'm also trying to encourage use of these diabetes prevention programs now. And so therefore, I'm out there talking to healthcare providers a lot, letting them know about the diabetes prevention program, and let them know that, hey, this program is ready for your patients to refer.
Fabulous. So tell us a little bit about what prediabetes is and about how many people have prediabetes.
Great question. Prediabetes is basically when your blood sugar, it's a condition, but it's when your blood sugars are higher than normal, but they're not high enough yet to be considered full-fledged diabetes. Sometimes your physician may mention the words that you are insulin resistant, or you have impaired glucose, or you, the little touch of sugar, sometimes they'll use that.
Borderline?
And that's another favorite of mine, because can you be borderline pregnant? No.
No.
So anyway, let's face the facts here.
That's right.
So anyway.
Wow.
Okay, about how many people do you think are affected by prediabetes in Indiana?
Okay, brace your ears, everybody. Nationally, if you think about it, we have about 30 million with diabetes, but this next statement is going to blow you off your chairs. 86 million people in this nation right now have prediabetes. So can you see trouble coming?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, the whole point to this, since 2010, the year 2010, it's been going up 1 million each year, and we don't see any end in sight. Now, as far as here in our Hoosier state, we're talking the CDC, which is the Centers for Disease Control. They are mentioning 36% of our population here in the Hoosier state has prediabetes. So if you look around,
right?
One
so
of
here's
us, one out of three.
We represent the state.
Yeah,
one of us.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And here's another thing: 9 out of 10 people don't even know they have prediabetes.
Yeah, because it's silent.
Yeah, it's
I mean, diabetes can be silent, let alone prediabetes.
Exactly.
To be silent. So yeah.
So there's good news and
So
bad news.
how do they find out?
Oh, well, there's first of all, I wanted to mention one other thing. Yeah. There's good news and bad news to this. The bad news is, let's say you find out you have prediabetes, and let's say you don't do a thing about it. Now, you can expect to possibly get full-fledged diabetes within 5 years.
Wow.
5 years.
It's not very long.
No, so we don't want that. But here's the good news. You can reverse prediabetes. That's huge. The power's all in your hands right now.
Yeah. So prediabetes is a warning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And something that we need to heed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
how do you find out if you are at risk for prediabetes?
Okay,
what kind of tools can you use?
Great question. Right here, if you look at your screen, the CDC, there's actually a couple paper versions, risk tests. One's from the CDC and the other one's from the American Diabetes Association. And basically you are, answering simple questions and marking the answer yes or no.
It's about 5 simple questions or 7
That's what
questions,
they look like,
right?
yeah. And you add up the numbers and you find out your risk. So, that's a possibility. Also, I think this is pretty cool. We now have a mobile risk test. And if you text the words risk test, no space, to 97779, somebody will reach out to you by the name of Ari, A-R-I, and will assist you in taking this risk test.
That's technology amazing.
I know.
I know.
We're
That's
so glued to
very
our
cool.
phones.
Yeah.
So that works
And
perfectly.
the risk test for the ADA is also available online at diabetes.org. Is the CDC also available online that you can take it online?
Yes, and I
Okay.
will mention a website at the end of our discussion today where you can look for that risk test. So.
Okay. So if I find out I'm at risk, what do I do next?
Well, you might, if you're really serious and concerned that you may have prediabetes, it might be a good time to schedule an appointment with your physician. And I say this because they are the ones that can give you a blood test. There's a couple blood tests out there that they could give you to confirm your blood sugar range. One of them is a fasting blood glucose. And as the word says, yes, you have to fast for about 8 hours. Don't forget that. But the other one's an A1C test, and that is, if you remember, it's a test that is it measures blood glucose for the last 2 to 3 months. And the good thing is you don't have to fast for that one.
Right. It's more accurate on many levels.
Yes.
So if the healthcare provider confirms that someone has diabetes, what should that person do? What's the next step for that?
Another great question. There are 3 things, and I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. Basically, it's eating right, and when I say that, I mean put more fruits and vegetables on your plate. Obviously, this is more nutrients to your body, as well as you're avoiding the high calorie, high carb diet by doing this. Also, physical activity, and as we were discussing earlier, the sitting is the new smoking, so you have to get up and exercise. And if you can get in 30 minutes each day, you're really doing yourself a service. And you don't have to do this all at once. I mean, you can get up and in the morning and walk your dog for 10 minutes, and then walk around the parking lot at work for another 10 minutes, and then when you get home, take a nice relaxing walk for 10 minutes. So you can get that in easily in just little increments. And then last but not least, this is something near and dear I've been working on, is you could always join the National Diabetes Prevention Program.
So tell us more about the National Diabetes Prevention Program.
Well, this program, I'm going to get this slide up. It is a year long, okay? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but if you think about it, you really need to work hard at this, and this is not something you can take a pill and be gone overnight. It takes practice to change your lifestyle.
Right.
So it's a year long. The first 6 months, the class meets once a week for 1 hour. Okay, and you're learning different things. The second half of the year, you're meeting once or twice a month, and just again for 1 hour. But this is you're trained by the sessions are conducted by trained lifestyle coaches, and the 2 goals for the whole program are to lose weight, at least 5% of your body weight. Which for a 200-pound person, that's 10 to 14 pounds. That really doesn't seem like a bunch. And increase that physical activity to 150 minutes a week. And they do this by, discussing how to read food labels, how to stay motivated with physical activity, how to eat out healthy. Everybody loves to eat out these days.
That's right. And there can be a trick to eating out healthy.
Yes, yes. And so they go through all these issues that every one of us, encumbers every day, and it's changing that lifestyle. Now, just a little thing, they will weigh you every time you go in for your session, but hey, we have to be accountable,
That's right.
And you'll also be responsible for turning in your food and activity trackers, because this is where accountability comes into play.
I love it.
Okay. So how do we find these programs?
Well, that's awesome. This isn't something new. The state has put together a website. It is www.preventdiabetes.isdh.in.gov. And on this website, you will find all of the state's diabetes prevention programs on there, as well as their contact information, so you can call and find out when the schedules are. Also, those risk tests that we previously talked about are on there as well. And a little bit of education about prediabetes. So I would strongly suggest everybody visit that website, www.preventdiabetes.isdh for Indiana State Department of Health .in.gov. And one last thing, a quick shout out to some Indianapolis area DPPs. All the YMCAs around the Indianapolis area pretty much do the diabetes prevention program. We have a new program starting in Carmel in about a month.
Wow.
They're going to open up their doors. It's called Relish Health.
Okay.
That's a possibility. The Indiana Minority Health Coalition is also another organization that offers this program. And Eskenazi Health
That's
just jumped
a
on
big
board.
one, yeah.
Oh, very big. They recognize the value of this program. However, that's not going to start till sometime this summer.
Okay.
So there you have it.
All right, very good. And Relish Health in Carmel.
Yeah.
Very close. Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So, this website that you mentioned is also available on our website. If you go to diabetes.org/Indiana, that's our local webpage, and so that's also another place that you can find this information. We have that on our local page too. All right. Well, thank you, Susie.
Thank you so much for having me. A
How
lot of
many
good
programs
things.
are there across Indiana?
Oh my
Do you know off
gosh.
the top of your head?
Oh, I have to recount.
I know. It's like me with numbers too. It's like I work with it every day, but then to recall it, yeah. But there are a lot. I've seen the
Oh,
map, so
yes.
they're all over.
Yes,
So
and
no
if
matter
you go
where
to-
you're watching from, and if you're watching from another state, look in your state too, because diabetes. I mean, this is the National Diabetes Prevention Program.
Yeah.
So you
it's-
very well may have one in your state as well.
And it's evidence-based, so it will work if you work it.
Right. Okay. All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, Susie.
Thank
It was
you.
nice having you. And now we'll do a quick little switcheroo here.
Yes.
We'll have our next guest come on. All right. Very nice. Hi, Brenda.
Hi,
This is
Carol.
Brenda Jagatic. And Brenda, we'd like for you to start off with introducing yourself and telling us about your role.
Okay, so my name is Brenda Jagatic, and I'm a nurse, certified diabetes educator, and I work for the Indiana State Department of Health, and my role is a diabetes education coordinator for the state.
Okay. So what is diabetes self-management education?
Okay, so diabetes self-management education is where someone with diabetes will attend a class, and the class focuses on helping individuals change behaviors, make changes in lifestyle in order that they will have their blood sugars under better control.
That's fabulous. You know, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, they sent me to a dietitian, but no one ever suggested this. This was something I had to learn on my own.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
And so,
that.
but I mean, it's been a long time ago, like a really long time ago. But, but you know, it's so, that's why I'm so glad that you're bringing this to the forefront for people to know that there are classes out there. And sometimes we need to be our own advocate and ask our doctor, hey, where can I go to get
Yeah.
these classes?
So one of the things that I do is I look at trying to increase the number of diabetes education centers in the state. Also, there are diabetes education centers that are not yet certified, and so I'm helping them to, I provide them with technical assistance so they can become certified. And when they're certified, then they can get reimbursement from Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurers, and that helps them to stay sustainable, because if they're able to bill for it, then they're more likely to stay open. Because the problem is, with some of the diabetes education centers across the U.S., some are closing because people are not using them or they're not making enough money. So the other piece that I work with in terms of promoting diabetes self-managed education is also talking to providers, so talking to physicians, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and letting them know about the program, because it's also not only letting people know who have diabetes that that these are available, but also letting people who work in primary care and are the ones that are helping people manage their diabetes.
Very good.
So how much does a diabetes class typically cost? What's the cost
So
for that?
what happens is diabetes classes are covered by Medicare, Medicaid, and most insurance policies, although there would be a copay.
Okay.
Oftentimes there can be a copay. And the other thing I also wanted to just talk about self-management is that 95% of the work done to manage diabetes is done by the person who actually has it. And that's why it's so important that people who have diabetes come to classes so that they learn all the things that they need to do in order to manage their diabetes. And most classes, usually, most diabetes centers, and a lot of them are outpatient departments in hospitals, they usually offer, it's 4 classes initially that are 2 hours long. And then what we recommend is then we recommend that people who have diabetes come back and meet with their diabetes educator once a year, because making these changes, and I know Susie has talked about the changes, when we talk about the diabetes prevention, but making changes to manage diabetes are similar, but it's really hard to do this. And so we recommend that people who have diabetes come back once a year just to make sure they're staying on track. And a lot of times people will feel bad and we're like, it's okay, this is hard stuff, other stuff are going on in your life. Come back in and let's see where you're at, and let's start from where you're at, and let's move forward.
Okay. So so the classes are going to talk about lifestyle changes, healthy eating, and also like how to check your blood glucose and things like that too?
Yes, and so let's say for instance, I'll give an example with healthy eating. So we'll review what healthy eating habits are and talk to them about different changes people can make. So for instance, in terms of healthy eating, it could be, well, maybe look at maybe not drinking as many sweet drinks, so maybe cutting back on how much pop you drink. Or it could be start to eat breakfast on a daily basis. Or it could be, can you eat more fruits and vegetables? Or use smaller plates, because when you use smaller plates, you get smaller portions, and all those little changes can add up. And so what we try to do as diabetes educators is we start with small changes, and then build on the successes with small changes, and then continue to move forward.
Right. So you're always building on the positive and not dwelling on the negative, right?
Yeah.
We want positive affirmation in our heads.
That's right. And then, like for instance, like with physical activity, an example I can give you is that maybe an individual will say, okay, I'm going to start walking 10 minutes after supper 3 days a week. So we like to start small.
Right. And that sounds so much more doable. But how does that make a difference?
So, great question. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, when people are first diagnosed with diabetes, they feel overwhelmed, they're embarrassed, they're depressed, they're just, and a lot of times they don't know where to start, so they don't do anything. So, when you have education by diabetes educators, we're focused on the patient and what the patient wants to do, and we want to help them figure out, well, what is it you want to work on, and then help them meet their goals. So it's not like me standing in front saying, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, but rather it's saying, well, what is it you want to work on? What do you want to do? Because if it's their goals, they're more likely to succeed.
Right.
So getting back to the physical activity, let's say someone starts for a good month, they've been consistently walking 10 minutes after dinner, 3 nights a week after dinner. Well, then maybe the next step may be, well, maybe the individual will say, you know what, maybe I'm going to start walking 4 or 5 times a week, 10 minutes after dinner. Or a person may say, well, you know what, I'm going to do the 3 days a week, but I think I'm going to do it 15 minutes. So do it small, make it doable. I mean, people have busy lives, and also I like what Susie talked about in terms of physical activity, where you could do a 10-minute walk in the morning, you take your dog for a short walk, take a short walk at lunch, because as we say, sitting is the new smoking, so take a 10-minute walk at lunch, and then after dinner, a nice relaxing walk in the evening. So we have to make it, because I think in the past some people say, okay, at least 30 minutes every day, but it's like, realize you can break it up into small pieces,
right,
so that you're more likely to succeed. And the key with changing behavior and changing habits, it's difficult. And so diabetes educators, what we do is we put the patient with diabetes in the driver's seat, and we provide education and support, but we're helping you decide what it is that you want to do. And by making these small changes, it's going to help the person with diabetes be in better control.
So I think one of the things that I'm hearing you talk about through all of this is that it's very patient-centered. So it's focused on you, the person, the whole person, and what's going to work for your life. Yes. And you don't have to feel like you're doing everything the way your neighbor might do it or another family member might do it. So it's not... It's focused just on you.
And what works best for you. And
right.
Like even, I can share you a story, because my philosophy always has been like, eat healthy most of the time. So it's not like you can't have dessert and you can't go and enjoy like upcoming Easter, have a wonderful Easter dinner. It's eating healthy most of the time. And I once had, a patient tell me a story where him and his wife went out for dinner, and what they do at restaurants, after you eat dinner, they say, so would you like some dessert? And he was going, oh, what do you have? And his wife said, oh, I don't think you should. So she kind of stepped in, and he was so upset and he was so angry, he ordered 2 desserts. So that sometimes for people, if your loved ones have to learn that it's not black and white, that you never can have dessert.
Right.
And that What I encourage, like when I talk to couples, in terms of managing their diabetes, I think it's important for the person who has diabetes to let their partner know, what are the things that you do that really help me? And then, what are the things that you sometimes do that actually make it harder for me to manage my diabetes?
Mm-hmm.
So, because the support from family members is a really important piece. And so that's just something that we would encourage.
That's great affirmation to what we learned last month with Dr. Mary DeGroot. And we were talking about the diabetes police. And she mentioned some things very similar to that. Yes. So, very common theme there going. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what else does a diabetes education cover? Diabetes education director cover in self-management.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I talked about healthy eating, and we talked about physical activity. Also talk about checking your blood sugars. Talk about taking your medications, managing your medications. Like for instance, if they're afraid of side effects or if they can't afford them. So looking globally at diabetes medication, then also looking at how to manage stress. Another thing that diabetes educators will talk about is things that they can be doing to reduce risks of complications. And right up on the top of that list would be quitting smoking. And again, we do that based on letting the patient decide that they're aware that, so people are aware that they shouldn't smoke, but when they're ready to move forward, giving them information and supporting them and giving them resource to help them. Because quitting smoking is one of the most difficult addictions to give up. So quitting smoking, seeing a dentist twice a year, having your yearly eye exam, getting your yearly flu exam, and then talking about daily foot care are some of the basics. And then in terms of talking to people about, so what are the benefits in making changes? Well, it can help get the diabetes under better control, can lower the A1C. But then the other thing is, like short term, is it can help with, when your blood sugars are better under control, you're likely to feel better. You're likely to have more energy. You're more likely to not be thirsty all the time, because that happens when the sugars are high. And then you're less likely to have to get up in the middle of the night to empty your bladder, because when sugars are really high, you drink more and then you empty the bladder more frequently. And I guess the other benefit of managing your diabetes, and this is a concern for everyone these days, is that if your diabetes is under better control, it's going to reduce your healthcare costs. And I think that's a concern for everybody these days.
Right. Yeah, the education is the way to get across to people. They may not realize how badly they feel until they get their blood sugar under control and they start feeling better, and they're like, oh, I do feel so much better. I have so much energy. I didn't realize how it was affecting me.
And that's a great point, because what happens is when people develop prediabetes and then it evolves into diabetes and they're not aware of it, it's a process that happens so slowly that it starts to affect your energy level and how you feel. But because it happens so slowly, people don't necessarily notice it.
Right.
But then when they get their blood sugars back to where they should be, they do notice a difference, which is very exciting as an educator when I have people come back to see me and go, wow, I didn't know how bad I felt until I started to feel good again.
Right, absolutely. And then just learning about diabetes and high glucose and the effects that it can have in causing complications, because sometimes people are just not aware of that, or they're kind of in denial about it. So.
Yeah, and I personally, as an educator, I try not to focus on complications, because for a lot of people in their mind, diabetes equals complications. And there's some pretty scary complications. What I like to stress is uncontrolled diabetes increases the risk. And so letting people know that we can empower you to look after your diabetes so that you don't have complications. But I think that fear holds people back.
Right, absolutely. All right. Any last parting words on diabetes self-management education?
The one thing I would like to say is just to talk about the benefits of group education. And that is because some people will say, well, I don't want to go to a group. But what I'd like to share with people is that research has shown that people actually benefit by participating in a group. And I actually have two stories. If I have time to share.
Do we have time?
I'm okay with time?
Okay.
Okay. So one, this is an actual story of a patient, and I'll say his name is John for confidentiality, and he attended a class here in Indianapolis. And this is what he said. Before taking the classes, I didn't know how to handle a situation that could handle me. I felt scared. Now I still have good and bad days, but I understand what I need to do to handle the diabetes, and I'm not scared. Diabetes won't beat me. These classes work, and word of mouth sells. People with diabetes help each other, and I'm glad to share these tools that I've been given. You should make everyone with diabetes sign up. And I've got one more story if I have time.
That's awesome.
Okay, and I'll say this is Jane. It was easier to ask questions in the group than in a doctor's office. Our group was fun and liked to joke around, so I didn't feel nervous or embarrassed to ask a question. There were also a couple of times when I was going to ask a question and someone else had the same question and asked it for me, and that was nice. I thought my high A1C was just normal for me. Now I know that it's not and how to get it better. So just lastly, the last point I'd like to make is that diabetes education, we recommend it when you're first diagnosed so that you can start to learn to manage it right away, because the key is learn how to manage it so that you don't develop complications. And then the other piece being that come back and see your diabetes educator on a yearly basis for your diabetes management tune-up, just to keep you on track. And then there may be things that have happened in the past year. You could have lost your job, which means you can't afford the drugs. So maybe we need to look at what are some cheaper drugs that you can afford. Or let's say, for instance, there's a family member that's dealing with cancer and your stress is through the roof, because we know that stress impacts diabetes. So maybe focusing a bit more on stress management techniques. So please, it's important. Come when you're diagnosed and then on a yearly basis.
And then you can also find some help and support. So, for example, we have a support group at the American Diabetes Association on the third Tuesday of every month. It's in our office at 8604 Allisonville Road in Castleton area. It's at 6 p.m., so you're always welcome to join our support group. I know IU Health has a regular monthly support group as well. They rotate their locations, but I'm happy to share that information with you. And there are other support groups so you may not be watching from the Indianapolis area. So check with your local health department and see if they're aware of any support groups. Indiana State Department of Health, you used to have a list of support groups.
We have a list of the diabetes education programs in the state, and then if you contact your local diabetes education program, they could probably hook you up
with the support group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last thing I just want to say, I wanted to give you a plug for your magazine. The Diabetes Forecast is outstanding, and I recommend it for all of my patients that I've worked with. And I can share with you that as a certified diabetes educator, I will sometimes read this magazine and I'll go, I actually learned something. I joke around to my patients and I say that, have my patients reading this, it keeps me on my toes, because in this art, they include all the latest research.
All the latest and greatest, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for that plug.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I think that does it for our show this month.
It does.
Wow.
So I don't know if we have the last slide. If you can click on there. Thank you so much, Brenda, for your help. We really, really appreciate what you've had to say today. I've learned a lot today.
Absolutely.
But okay, so guys, again, social media. Everything you want to know about the ADA is on our social media pages. You see them there. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and an Instagram page. Please look at those pages for the latest information, events, anything that you want to know. If you have an idea for a segment on our show, feel free to put that information there. We read it all the time, so please do. We always respond to all of your comments.
And then we have the email indiana@diabetes.org, which is really Alyssa. So there is a person behind that.
It is. So please feel free to send us an email as well. If you have questions, concerns, please don't hesitate to contact us. Again, our address is there, our phone number is there. Our staff is dedicated to you, and we're here to answer all of your questions. So with that, we are done for April.
That's right.
I can't believe how fast this month is going already.